Welcome back to the Zone Collectibles and More here on YouTube. Got my buddy Groot. Got his new friend he found at the warehouse. Second video of the day. This one's a little bit more serious. Basically, over these last few days, I have been thinking a lot about my grandfather. My grandfather had a seriously hard life and grew up during some really, really rough times. My biological grandfather. It was because of him at an early age that I started writing my key to life. I've had this composition book for decades. And the things, I learned three very important things from him. Basically, number one, I just jotted them down, put them together. Number one, your very worst day above ground will always be better than your very best day below it. That is a really powerful statement from an old man who basically had no education. I remember when he first told me this, I asked him, I said, "Grandpa, what exactly does that mean?" He goes, "Look, son, the powers that be have given you the day. If you wake up, you've been given a gift. No matter how bad that day is, you need to make the best of it, because if you don't, those same powers may not give you another one." Now, they lived in Arkansas, spent most of their life in Arkansas. As a child, I used to go visit them in Arkansas. Great place to grow up. But there were really only 3 books that my grandparents ever actually read in their home. One was the Bible. 2 was a very old cookbook that was given to settlers who moved from the East Coast to the West Coast during the expansion and during the gold rush. And number 3, there was more than one book, but it was the style of book. And it was the Reader's Digest condensed volumes. And I asked my grandparents, I said, "If you love these stories so much, why don't you go read the full version of the book?" He goes, "Son, if they can boil it down to this and I can get the gist of it, why do I need more words?" He was a simple man. Another thing he taught me was that in this life, there are 3 kinds of people. Those who make things happen, those who watch things happen, and those who wonder what happened. And as I got older, he said, "Son," he said, "if you really want to explore the essence of the 3 kinds of people," he says, "you need to really learn more about Earl Nightingale to understand." I don't exactly know how my grandfather knew Earl, but he knew him on a personal level. And for those of you who don't know Earl, do by all means take a look on YouTube and look under Earl Nightingale. I've been a student of the Institute for a long time. I've graduated a number of programs. And that man had wisdom way, way ahead of his time. Another thing that I learned from him, which is probably almost the most important thing, was family is not always blood, but are those who regularly have an impact on your life and you on theirs. Now, being a child who was eventually adopted, that has a special meaning to me. Throughout my life, I have built my family Not with just those who are bound to me by blood, but who are bound to me by what I consider way beyond that, the family essence of tracing down the bloodline. But what is this video about? Basically what it is about is, when you stop and think about as much time as we have today, and everything that we can or cannot do, you know, being stuck at home or told to hunker down or whatever, there's another great concept called 6 degrees of separation. I don't know if you all know this or not, but basically it says that through your interactions, you can trace anybody from you to them by 6 degrees. And I think this is even true now today with social networking. And when I'm talking social networking, you're talking YouTubers, Facebook, Tumblr, Instagram, Twitter, Skype, Snapchat, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Reddit, and bloggers in general. If you stop and think about it today, we are connected to more people now than ever before, in one form or another. Now, why am I bringing this up? Right now, you're watching the news and you're seeing all of these major corporations stepping in, wearing the white hat, and is going to save the United States. I say, hey, that's great. We've paid for them enough. It's about time that they save our ass. But the true heroes are you, the local person. You have no idea just how much power you have if you take the time to stop and think about it. Right now, what are the key words that they're talking about constantly on the news? PPE, personal protective equipment. Gloves, masks. Cleaning supplies. 3M is doing this. Ford's going to do that. Tesla's going to do this. That's wonderful. People need this stuff yesterday. You, my dear friends, can help. Stop and think about all of the people that you know in your social network. And think about how you can be the catalyst to get the things that the people in the United States need today in the right hands. Kev, you're talking gibberish. What are you talking about? I'm not understanding. I don't get it. Let me just sketch it out for you. Think about all the jobs you've had. Think about all the friends you've had. Think about their jobs that they've had. There are a ton of unused equipment and supplies sitting out there that people aren't even thinking that they can put into action. Myself, personally, I sent out packages. I needed some hand sanitizer. I needed this. I needed that. And I'm thinking, well, I can't go to Walmart. I can't get it. How am I going to get it? Then I remembered they just had decided to make the decision to close the casinos down. Anybody who's been in a casino environment knows that there are sanitation wipes given out all the time when you play the slot machines. There are hundreds of gallons of cleaner that these casinos use to keep all of the surfaces clean, especially during flu season. So I made some phone calls. I've got friends in Reno and in Vegas, anywhere there's a casino, because they went from one job to another, and they're like, yeah, hey Kev, what's going on? I said, you know what? I said, are you guys active right now? Oh no, they're planning on keeping us closed for a while. I said, cool. I said, can you send me some boxes of the sanitizing hand wipes? Well, yeah, I mean, we've got pallets of them, but what do you need those for? I said, well, locally, I've got people, because of where we live, it's rural, other communities, they don't have these things, like the ones who are feeding the homeless, and the gloves, and the sanitizing, and the wipes, and the hand sanitizer and everything else. And he's like, sure, let me make a few calls, Kevin. So I had boxes and boxes come to the house. They weren't being used. And if they're not used, they will dry out. That's just one example about how you can make that connection. Those people who are involved in sports, maybe it's a football stadium. They've got food service gloves. The season's over. Maybe they're just sitting there. Maybe you've got friends with someone at OSHA. OSHA, if anybody, should be stepping up to the pace and contacting all of these people who they have forced to have PPE, going, hey, you know what, you're a seasonal business. We're going to acquire your PPE so that we can give it to other folks. We'll reimburse you when we can get more into the country. We'll replace it. You can ask your friends, your social people, your YouTubers that you follow, hey, you know what? Do you know anybody who's this? Or can you put a call out? Let's mobilize the community to get what we need. That's just like I have a friend of mine. He's in Nevada. His aunt and his grandma thought they were doing a really great job. They're quilters. They were taking fabric together and they were making handmade masks. Now they knew it probably wasn't going to be very effective because they were using the material that they had. But these two ladies were making hundreds of masks. Some idiot in a position of quasi-power said, please stop, because you're not really helping anybody. I can guarantee you everybody who got one of those masks, who was older, in their homes, felt better having one. That was fine. So he calls me and he says, Kev, you got any ideas? My aunt and my grandma are just totally devastated because here they were working their fingers to the bones, getting their friends involved, and they were told to stop. I said, well, why? And they said, well, some county official crap said, no, really, blah, 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 not effective. And now they're just sitting at home heartbroken. And I thought about it for a minute. I said, you got a hardware store that's still open where you're at? He goes, absolutely. I said, great. I just purchased something that will help them out immensely. And he said, what's that? I said, well, when I had the flu back in the end of 2019, when we got back to the shop in 2020, I bought 3M Healthy Living Advanced Allergen filters for my heating and cooling unit that block bacteria and viruses. I said, if you take a look in your hardware store, 3M, it's in the purple container, it's the purple filter. I said, why can't you just buy them a bunch, break them out of their cardboard frame, let them use this filter material to put inside the middle of their homemade masks, put them back in business. And you know what? Thousands more have hit their community, and now their community says, yes, this was a wonderful idea. They're now advising more people to do it because the filter that they needed is in the middle. They've got characters for the kids to wear, SpongeBob, whatever the case may be. And I don't care if the experts say wear a mask, don't wear a mask, whatever. People feel comfortable thinking they have a little bit of control over their life. So if it's not, quote unquote, medical grade, and the professionals, you're not blocking something that the professionals need to take care of very sick patients, I get it. Reserve the masks for the health service workers, and I'm cool with that. But if you can make something that's almost the equivalent at home with spare cloth, spare material, with an actual filter in the middle, and it gives somebody a purpose, why not? What's it hurting? So, but between coast to coast, from him telling me that they had a problem and me figuring out something that I had just purchased, masks are now being made with a filter in the middle, and it could very well save lives. This is the power that you have. You may not have but 100 or 200 followers. You may follow people online that have thousands upon tens of thousands of followers. You can be the one to initiate that spark, ask the question, to make those connections. We can mobilize as much material that's being unused right now in the United States individually than any major corporation can get mobilized today. Because you can put it out into the universe or the internet these days. It can bounce around, and before you know it, by the end of the week, we can mobilize hundreds of thousands of pounds of unused supplies and get them in the hands that they need to be quicker than any major corporation. You and I don't have a board that we need to discuss things about. I have a group of friends and business partners that I've been doing business with for decades. You all have school friends. You may have business associates. You may be the owner of a business and you know other owners of businesses. This is our time. Even though, quote unquote, some of our businesses are considered non-essential, you can still help your community. You can still be essential to your friends and the community around you. Use your social networking to make those connections, to make things happen. Now think about that when you're sitting on your couch wondering if you just couldn't have something to do or that you're bored during this time. Do what you do best. Hop on the keyboard. Talk to these people. Talk to the YouTubers. Talk to the bloggers. Get on LinkedIn. Find out who these people that you're business associates with, who do they know? What seasonal businesses do they have or don't have or have access to? I'm sure ski lodges have a bunch of resources that aren't being used this time of year. They can donate them, get a tax write-off, and then can be replenished when the supplies are easier found again. How about ballparks, stadiums, sporting events, manufacturing facilities that are currently down? OSHA has made a lot of these people have this PPE on property. So why not? Let's do a call to utilize it. And again, together we can do more than you can do by yourself. You can be the key to saving someone's life. Just think about all of the connections you've made. In my life, relationships are very important. I still have relationships with the people I went to elementary school with, high school with. I'm in business with a bunch of people I was in high school with and in college with. And we've stuck side by side with each other for decades. We all have our pool of resources. We just have to remind people and spark that little bit in the back of their mind. Oh yeah, well I remember Robbie. Robbie used to be a maintenance guy and he said that they had closed down last year. I wonder what they did with all that PPE. There you go. And you don't have to do it all by yourself, but together we can spark conversations and get product moving. Just an idea. Just a good old country boy throwing it out in the universe. But I can tell you, if I can do it and have product and I can redistribute product, so can you. That's it for today. As always, this has been me, Kevin, the RM of the Zone, wishing you a zone-tastic day. Be safe, stay healthy, and take care of your loved ones. And use those connections. Catch you in the next video. Thank you.